All right, now check this out. This is on Midas Touch, and they're going to give a brief breakdown, and people are going to be giving these breakdowns for the next few days to remind people of who Donald Trump really is. He's a hypocrite, and he's a person that likes to gaslight. MAGA gaslights people. They think that people have short term memory, and it's a psychological tactic to blame the victim for their victimization. And this is what Donald Trump has been good at. And for some reason people go. Now, people don't seem to remember all the hateful things that Donald Trump has said when others, political opponents, have had violence aimed at them. When they have been attacked, when attempted murders have happened, Donald Trump has basically mocked them, talked to crowds openly about it. Now, this will give you an example. So let's hear Ben Mazel from Masalas, from the Midas Touch, give his breakdown, and there will be more. Let's go.
His husband was almost killed when Nancy Pelosi's husband, Paul, was the victim of an attempted murder. I remember what Donald Trump posted. I remember what Don Jr. posted. Do you? Because Donald Trump immediately reposted a QAnon meme. Trump posted, "Where we go one, we go all," reposting a QAnon account. QAnon is a death cult. Donald Trump's response right after Nancy Pelosi's husband was almost killed was to repost a death cult account to his extremist base. Donald Trump also posted the following: "I purposefully didn't comment on Nancy Pelosi's very weird story concerning her husband, but now I can because she said something about me with glee that was really quite vicious. I saw a scared puppy," she said, "as she watched me on television, like millions of others that didn't see that. I wasn't scared. Nevertheless, how mean a thing to say. She is a wicked witch whose husband's journey from hell starts and finishes with her. She is a sick and demented psycho who will someday live in hell." Exclamation point. That's what Donald Trump said. Then Don Jr. posted the following: a photograph of underwear with a hammer on it. And Don Jr. said, "Got my Paul Pelosi Halloween costume ready," as Don Jr. and MAGA Republicans were intentionally spreading a vicious and false conspiracy that Nancy Pelosi's husband was in a homosexual relationship with the individual who tried to kill him. And that's why that all went down. They spread that conspiracy. And then Donald Trump talked about that at the various rallies that he went to. I want to compare that to the types of statements that were being made in the aftermath of the Butler, Pennsylvania shooting. Former President Barack Obama writes, "There's absolutely no place for political violence in our democracy. Although we don't yet know exactly what happened, we should all be relieved that former President Trump wasn't seriously hurt and use this moment to recommit ourselves to civility and respect in our politics. Michelle and I are wishing him a quick recovery." Former President Bill Clinton wrote, "Violence has no place in America, especially in our political process. Hillary and I are thankful that President Trump is safe, heartbroken for all those affected by the attack at today's rally in Pennsylvania, and grateful for the swift action of the United States Secret Service." President Biden wrote, "I have been briefed on the shooting at Donald Trump's rally in Pennsylvania. I'm grateful to hear that he's safe and doing well. I'm praying for him and his family and for all those who were at the rally as we await further information. Jill and I are grateful to the Secret Service for getting him to safety. There's no place for this kind of violence in America. We must unite as one nation to condemn it." Mike Madrid wrote, "Be calm, don't spread disinformation, deep breath, calm," which I think are important words. Now, compare that to what Donald Trump said about Nancy Pelosi and what he continued to say at Nancy Pelosi at his rallies. Here, Donald Trump mocks the attempted murder of Nancy Pelosi's husband. Play the clip.
"We had no terror during my administration. The only terror we had was Nancy Pelosi, who's a crazed lunatic. She's a lunatic. She is a crazed lunatic. What the hell was going on with her husband? Let's not ask. Let's not ask. I'll withdraw that statement. By the way, she's got a wall around her house. Obviously, in that case, it didn't work very well, did it? It didn't work.
Just so you see that Donald Trump does this at a lot of his rallies. It's not a one-time thing. It's actually part of his stump speech to attack Nancy Pelosi's husband and Nancy Pelosi and mock the attempted murder of Nancy Pelosi's husband. Here's Trump doing it at another speech. Play the clip.
And we'll stand up to crazy Nancy Pelosi, who ruined San Francisco. How's her husband doing, by the way? Anybody know? And she's against building a wall at our border, even though she has a wall around her house, which obviously didn't do a very good job.
The FBI has now identified the shooter in the Butler, Pennsylvania shooting, Thomas Matthew Crooks, 20, of Bethel Park, Pennsylvania. Individuals registered Republican, wearing the gear of a well-known Second Amendment, pro-Second Amendment, pro-unlimited gun rights group. He was wearing that on his shirt during the time of this shooting. Should also be noted that before Donald Trump took the stage, this is the message he sent to all of his supporters. It says the following. This is Trump's campaign email. All hell breaks loose in 1 hour. Trump rally alert. When I take the rally stage, I could be making a major announcement that's sure to strike fear into the hearts of our deep state enemies, it says. Do not miss it. The gear that was being worn by the shooter was Demolition Ranch gear group that has a view that there should be unlimited weapons of war proliferating. That's their interpretation of the Second Amendment. While I read for you,
he's telling you about the guy that shot Trump. Ben Marcellus is telling you what the guy who shot Trump had posted on his wall, who he is. Let's take it back a little bit. This is very interesting. One of Trump's own people, a staunch gun advocate, shot Donald Trump. Yes, not a leftist, because you know you can't be staunch gun advocate and be a leftist. Leftists don't agree with that shit. I agree guns are part of the Constitution. Weapons, the right to defend yourself, even against any to have militias, all of that stuff. I agree with that. But having mobs out to practice racism, bigotry of any form, that's not what the Constitution is for. And by the way, I'm not for people having damn rockets. I'm not for people having all these weapons in that way. That's not organized. When just every individual just has one, that's not organized. You see, that's different. But the right wing folk are, and look, the person that shot Trump is for that too. Let's take it back a little bit.
Shooting should also be noted that before amendment poster, the Pennsylvania shooter has now identified the shooter in the Butler, Pennsylvania shooting. Thomas Matthew Crooks, 20, of Bethel Park, Pennsylvania. Individuals registered.
Did you hear who shot Trump? Did you hear? A staunch gun advocate of the highest order. A young Republican took a shot at Trump. Took several shots at Trump. I mean, is Trump for it or is he against it? I don't know, because you can't be for it for one person and not be for it for another, right? It has to be fair. So I don't know why it would be okay for a young Republican or any Republican or any gun advocate or any right winger to make an assassination attempt on Nancy Pelosi or anybody else. I don't know why that would be okay if all of a sudden the same right winger can't do it at Trump. That wouldn't be right. Look, FBI officially identifies Thomas Matthew Crook, 20, of Bethel Park, Pennsylvania, as Trump assassination attempt suspect. Crook was shot and killed at the scene. Now let's listen.
Republican, wearing the gear of a well-known Second Amendment, pro-Second Amendment, pro-unlimited gun rights group. He was wearing that on his shirt during the time of this shooting. Should also be noted that before Donald Trump took the stage, this is the message he sent to all of his supporters. It says the following. This is Trump's campaign.
I heard he actually he's donated to Republicans and Democrats. But the thing is that a lot of people do that. A lot of people donate to both parties, right? But the reality of it is that, again, let's just bring it back. You may have donated to Trump, to Joe Biden. What does that mean? Because he's a registered Republican, and Republicans have the right to not like Trump also in a democracy. And if you listen, Trish, how many years have you been hearing Republicans split? Have you been following the dialogue with Republicans for years? See, all Republicans don't like Trump. All Republicans, don't agree. You see? And they've been having that conversation and that discourse openly for the world to listen to. So I hope you're remembering that too. I would donate to Biden also. Something wrong with that? Anything wrong with him donating? Also, is there anything wrong with this Republican having an AR-15? Anything wrong with that? Do Democrats agree with that? I mean, I don't know. You see? Here we go. Do you know the shooter was picked to be in the Black Rock video? How do you know? I don't know. Do you know that? But see, this is the thing. What's going on right now in the United States of America is that there's a lot of people being told stuff that don't have the actual evidence themselves. They hear it and then they recite it again. So no, I don't know that. I don't know this. Do you know the shooter had picked to be in a Black Rock video? Wow. And okay. It doesn't change the fact that the overall situation with the Republican Party is they split, and they've been having that open dialogue about Donald Trump for years now, splitting. Now, I don't know how the Rock video takes precedent over the dialogue of the Republicans themselves, but you could explain that. I mean, if you know it to be relevant. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I haven't seen the video, but again, have you heard, Tris, the dialogue between the Republican Party split over Donald Trump? Have you heard that? Would you like to hear some if you haven't heard it? Because I've heard it. It's been all over the world. That's what they've been talking about. Donald Trump has caused a split within the Republican Party. Do you agree that there's a split, or there's no split at all? They're just all together supporting Donald Trump and MAGA. Are all Republicans MAGA Republicans, or all Republicans Heritage Foundation Republicans, or are there Republicans like George Bush that don't agree, that speak openly against Donald Trump? Are there Republicans like Colin Powell that speak differently? There's loads of Republicans that speaking out against Donald Trump. So, yeah, absolutely. I mean, the guy's a Republican. The guy had an AR. He shot Trump. I mean, did he do it for Biden? Biden didn't ask him. We're about to play what Biden thinks about violence. And they're playing two things here. They're about to play what Biden and Democrats think about violence and what they say versus what Trump says about violence. So let's continue and see if there's a difference.
Second Amendment, pro-Second Amendment, pro-unlimited gun rights group. He was wearing that on his shirt during the time of this shooting. Should also be noted that before Donald Trump took the stage. This is the message he sent to all of his supporters. It says the following. This is Trump's campaign email. All hell breaks loose in 1 hour. Trump rally alert. When I take the rally stage, I could be making a major announcement that's sure to strike fear into the hearts of our deep state enemies. It says, do not miss it. The gear that was being worn by the shooter was Demolition Ranch gear group that has a view that there should be unlimited weapons of war proliferating. That's their interpretation of the Second Amendment. While I read for you the statements of some of the Democratic leaders who were not politicizing this in any way, the Republicans were very quick to politicize this. MAGA Republican Congressmember Mike Collins wrote, Joe Biden sent the orders. The Republican district attorney in Butler should immediately file charges against Biden for inciting the assassination. Ronnie Jackson, a MAGA Republican Congress member, wrote, Trump deranged left-wing lunatics that parade around NBC and other fake news outlets demonizing Trump and calling him Hitler are directly responsible for this. And then you also got a comment from MAGA Republican Senator J.D. Vance, who wrote, today's not some isolated incident. The central premise of the Biden campaign is that Trump is an authoritarian fascist who must be stopped at all costs. Before the identity of the shooter was even announced, our editor-in-chief, Ron Filipkowski, wrote, this is pretty much where we are at, authoritarians using the act of one lunatic.
Now, so you see, before they even knew who shot him, they made all these statements, assumptions. Now, these right-wingers, they're not good at admitting when they make mistakes. No, they just keep going because why? No matter what happens, it's always going to be a conspiracy. That's their answer for everything. That was Donald Trump's answer for even winning the first election. He even thought he was going to lose and was saying it's going to be rigged, the election. He started that before he ever even became president and has used it every step of the way. So is it a conspiracy when Donald Trump does something? When you take top secret records out of the White House in the thousands, bring them to your Mar-a-Lago home where you have all types of people around the world visiting and having access to your home. Is it a conspiracy? Is it a right-wing conspiracy? Is it a Donald Trump conspiracy? Or is it just normal? Just another day at the park? Is it just normal? You see? Or is it a crime? Did he follow the protocols? Or when you say, hey, you didn't follow the protocols, is it a left-wing conspiracy? So with Donald Trump, he can do anything, and it's always a left-wing conspiracy, even when it's a Republican who shot him, a young Republican.
Know nothing about right now for
and they're going to get more information about the guy that comes out.
Political power and gain. I thought it's important that I share for you the historical context, though. And I want to be very clear once again. We here at the Midas Touch Network condemn in the strongest terms any form of political violence, period, full stop. Full stop. Anybody who engages in violence, attacks people physically, deserves the full force and effect of the law. They deserve to be brought to justice. That's what Law and Order is about. Hit subscribe. We'll give you more updates as we learn more.
All right, 2 seconds now. Let me go to the next.
Okay, guys, our list of
2 seconds. 2 seconds. Let me check something out here. Here we go. If it's okay, so let me continue. All right, let me see here. Go back here 2 seconds.
Folks, the horrific shooting that.
All right.
Let's bring to the conversation Evie Pompouras. She's a former Secret Service agent. Evie, good morning. I want to put up this map of the farm grounds where this event was held last night. So the elevated position where the shooter was set up was about 150 yards from the stage where former President Trump was speaking. As a former Secret Service agent, are you surprised that building wasn't better secured?
So when you do a security plan, you've got the main security, right? The security perimeter where there's the magnetometers, where people are being checked as they're entering the event. You have the outer perimeter, when you have an open rally like this, you are extremely vulnerable. I've done these. They're probably the most anxious you're ever going to be as an agent because you're trying to secure all of it. Now, the adjacent buildings, you do this in urban environments, you do this in a rural environment like this. When you do a security plan, you literally put yourself on stage and then you look out as if you were the protectee. What can I see? And if I can see it, it can probably see me. Now, for an outer perimeter like that, typically you will have a local law enforcement presence. You'll notice those buildings. And the Secret Service works with local police. You have to think of the Secret Service like they're the conductor of the orchestra. They create the blueprint and design for the security plan. They work with state police. They work with local police. And then they put in resources and assets.
So in the typical scenario or in the scenario that one wishes would have unfolded, would you have had perhaps a local official secure that roof to make sure the roof is clear, make sure nobody's in the building, and then stand guard there so no one comes in after that clearing?
So we don't know if they did or did not do this.
Yes, but they should have.
I would presume you should have a local police presence in that area. Now, could you have put somebody on that rooftop? You could have. The other element is the counter sniper team. So as far as we know, we see a 2-man team from the Secret Service side. As we were discussing prior before we started speaking, they are looking at everything. They have to cover 360 degrees. So I know a lot of folks are like, how could they not see this? I think one of the issues is if it is a 2-man team, think about what they are consistently covering. So local law enforcement, definitely. But again, we don't know if somebody was or wasn't positioned. Now, if there was no coverage there whatsoever, that's going to be an issue. Why weren't those adjacent buildings looked at? They are very close. Yes.
And if there was somebody stationed there from local law enforcement outside the building where the shooter was, as you consider the possibilities, how could he have gotten up there?
So as I look at this, and again, just from a preliminary assessment without having all the details, it seems to me what I would presume before the president goes up on stage, they secure the area. There's communication. Essentially, are we good to go? Is he good to get up on stage? I would presume that everything was in the clear. I would think that nobody was on that rooftop. What I suspect, and again, I'm suspecting that after he got up on stage, that's when the shooter took position. There's a little bit of a slant at that rooftop. Also, some of the photos show that he's dressed in colors matching that rooftop and building to camouflage a bit himself. So I'm suspecting he took position after President Trump spoke, then engaged.
It's easy in hindsight to say, oh, why wasn't this done or that done? And let's just acknowledge that as we have this conversation. But it is interesting because there were eyewitnesses who said they were actually positioned kind of outside the rally, but were just listening, and that they saw the gunman up with the rifle flying around. They were trying to tell some of the local officials that they saw there. Is there a way to communicate? I mean, these are split-second decisions. But for example, if there had been a state police officer outside of that outer perimeter and someone said,
let me see here. So listen, Tris, I'm not here to prove anything to you. You're the one that's here. If you don't enjoy it, maybe you need to find another platform. But you're just recycling them talking points. No, just because you don't agree with them doesn't make them them talking points. I'm a member of the Democratic Party, but hold on 2 seconds. Yeah, I'm a member of the Democratic Party. That's not a problem. You a member of a political party? Do you vote? Is that a problem for you? Is that a problem? Should that be my problem? I'm not mad if you're a member of the Republican Party. I'm not even mad if you vote for Trump. I'm not mad. But I'll tell you some facts about Trump. I'll tell you why he's a hypocrite. something that's not a part of the Democratic Party platform. Would you like to hear that, Trish? So you can see if your statement is true? Also, you need to stick around a little bit longer and listen to some more of my podcasts before you make this kind of assumption. I think that's the problem. You're in a rush to judgment, lady. That doesn't make you correct. Okay, so let's talk about some things that are not on the Democratic Party's platform that are very important for people to know. And the people that come here know these things because they've heard me say them just even yesterday, just even a few hours ago. Here they are because I can tell you didn't hear them. Trish, did you know that Donald Trump's family was not in this country during the War of Independence? Did you know that? Did you know that Donald Trump's family was not in this country during the Civil War? Did you know that? Are you aware of that? Did you know that Joe Biden's family was here long before Trump's family? Did you know that? So it's not really about party, because being a Republican doesn't mean you know shit about democracy. Being a Republican doesn't even mean your family was around during the founding of the country like mine was. It doesn't mean that. It's just Republican talking points. You get it? 1776 is just a Republican talking point. Do you have a problem with Republican talking points? You see? Now let me tell you, Steve Bannon, his family was not even in the country when this nation was founded. My family was. That's not a Democratic talking point. That's something that's just a fact that I've stated. It's not even one of my talking points. It's something I just thought about and said, hey, let's talk about this in the last 48 hours. You see, do you know, Trish, do you know how many of the main MAGA people and even the main Heritage Foundation people, I'm sure you heard of them, the people that support 2025 Project, right? Do you know how many of the top people's families were not anywhere close to this country during the War of Independence? Do you know how many of them were not even in the country, their families, during the Civil War? Do you know the answer to that question? Well, let me tell you. Most people make the dumb, ignorant assumption of thinking that they were because they talk about it all the time. 1776. I'll tell you right now, most of them were not. It's just talking points. So if you believe they give a damn, or if you just thought because of their talking points that they actually died for this country, to found this country, you're wrong. They didn't. Not the majority of them. And I'm talking about large majority didn't. That's what I'm talking about. So again, anyone can say somebody's repeating some talking points. I just said what I just said to you has nothing to do with the Democratic Party talking points. Do you accept them? Do you digest them? Okay. There you have it. I think you should think over that a little bit, Trish. Now, greetings. What are some of your talking points? Exactly. What is she talking about? You know, I think what it is that she's a Republican, a MAGA Republican even, or she's listening to some of their conspiracy theories, right? That don't really make sense if you look into them, you know, because conspiracy theories, you could always make a conspiracy theory up to protect yourself and your own looniness so that you're always right. It's always a conspiracy. You see, that's called something poor, sore losers do. Always having an excuse for not succeeding in the basic ways in life. Nobody's against you. It's you that's against everybody else. You see, it's clear, but let's play this. You know, Trump is against the electoral process. He's against it. Trump is against having the same rules as every other president in the country had, which is why he needed the Supreme Court to give him extra immunity, right? He needed that. He couldn't settle for the already normal immunity that all the other presidents dealt with and did fine. No, 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 no. No, that's not what Trump had to settle for. For those of you that are just joining me today, you need to understand Donald Trump's family was not even in the country during the founding of this country in 1776. His family was not even in the country in when the war of when the Civil War happened. Not even then. They were nowhere near this country. You understand that? So you need to know something else. The majority of these MAGA people, the story is the same. Nowhere near the United States of America. But they're talking about 1776 because it's their talking point. And if you listen to them, you might believe they're really out to protect this country. You might believe they really give a damn. You might believe they was around in 1776. They weren't. They're phonies. They're complete, utter phonies. And when reality hits them back, when the chickens come home to roost because they've been so busy out there threatening people with weapons and violence, threatening other Americans, they're going to wish they don't get their wish, because their wish is war against other Americans. And other Americans have been sitting back patiently following the democratic rules and values. But hey, let's let Trump have it his way. It worked out perfectly, Trump having it his way. It worked out perfectly, the Republicans having it their way. They got all the gun rights, and the gun justice got zeroed in on them by a Republican. Bah! All right, so let's continue to listen. 2 seconds.
There's a guy up there with a gun. Can that message get communicated to Secret Service quickly? Are they all on the same comms?
So really what the issue is, that person that was trying to communicate, were they actually verbally speaking to someone, or were they trying to get somebody's attention? When you're doing these rallies, you're looking at thousands of people.
Hey, Jamie, thank you. Thank you for saying that. You see what I mean? Thank you for saying that. My ancestors were from Ireland. They were escaping the Irish potato famine and joined the Union Army during the Civil War. There you go. That's great. Guess what? My family came here even before that. Both sides of my family. I'm not a MAGA Republican. I'm not out there trying to hate on immigrants. I'm not talking about building a wall, and I'm not talking about having gun rights, and I'm not talking about killing other Americans. I don't need to threaten them. I just have a vote. And when the vote doesn't go my way, I zip it up and keep going and being positive inspiration to Republicans and Democrats, to whites and blacks, to straights and gays, to all kinds of people, Mexicans, all kinds of people. But see, when you write a manifesto like 2025 and you start outlining internment camps and things like this, and your ancestors were not even here in the founding of it, don't ever forget, if you're Republican, if you're MAGA, don't ever forget, you definitely were not the only ones around when this country was founded. You're definitely not the only ones whose families shed blood for this country. Don't ever forget it, because you have forgotten. And what you have forgot is going to come back and slap you in the face. And that's just going to be what it is. When you preach violence, you begot violence. That's what happened to Trump. He got what he was asking for. He got what he wished for. When the Secret Service told him on January 6th, hey, when they stopped the armed gunmen from coming into his rally before they marched to the Capitol, Trump didn't agree with that. Trump said, let them in, let them in. Well, now you know why you don't let them in. Again, you can have that gun in your hand and have that right, and you can have it at that rally, but it only takes 2 seconds for the person to direct it in the other direction and shoot you too. So if you want it to be like that, I'm happy. I think it's cool. But most rational people understand why you don't want mobs of people at your rallies with weapons.
people.
Yeah.
How much law enforcement do you have?
What's
Do you
their-
have one officer or one law enforcement official to what? 1,000? And are they able to get that person's attention? Guys, at the end of the day, too, and I think this is going to come up during the hearing, resources, money.
Exactly. Thank you for saying that, Jamie Harbert. Thank you for saying that, because that's all this is about. Nobody's above the law. And we know this history has a history of putting some people above the law. You know, but what's even more insidious is when you have people whose family wasn't even in the country during the founding or the Civil War, and they're the ones talking about pointing the finger at you or your family member all of a sudden. See, that's when they went too far. And that's what this MAGA has done, because they're more for the rhetoric than they are for the reality. They're more for the rhetoric than they are for the reality. So there's plenty of Americans whose families have been here since the beginning of this country, who died for this country in reality in the War of Independence, in reality in the Civil War, in reality in every war this country has been through. Shit, you think we just going to shut up and let some MAGA people or some Heritage Foundation people threaten us with weapons and violence? It's a delusion, and Trump just got the first little wake-up call. Of course, he's a madman. He's not going to take it. He's not going to make sense out of it. It's the left who did it.
This all costs something. So when you're doing these security advances, you are negotiating. I mean, there are times where I need 75 agents, and it'll come back. It's like, you know what? We don't have the resources or the funds, or we need these folks to be somewhere else. Can you do it with X amount of people? And it's not just the Secret Service. It's going to be law enforcement. Their resources are tapped as well.
So, Evie, quickly, let's talk about the aftermath of the shooting. You see the agents rush the stage, keep the former president on the ground. Then he stands up. What do you see in those images as he pumps his fist to the crowd, exposes himself again, and then moves toward the car?
So if we just break this down as the shooting is happening, we hear the shots being fired. President Trump goes down, he takes cover. And it's also very likely when you look at that banner, there's like this banner around that stage. That tends to be some type of steel that's there by design for an incident like this, so that the protectee can hit the ground and take cover. We see the agents come in now from the sides, and their job is, that's the shift. That's what's called the shift. They come in and they are the armor. They're the ones who are literally going to come around. They're going to secure his body. The goal is now, if any additional shots are fired, they take the impact of those shots. They bring him back down. Now you can hear them too. If you're listening to the audio, you can hear them talking on comms. Is it clear? Are we good to go? Because they want to take him from where he's at, and they want to move him to the vehicles. Anytime you're open, and if we look at previous assassinations or assassination attempts, Reagan, JFK, just the most recent ones, always outside, right? Always line of sight issues. So they've got him secure. Once they hear the go, you can go. So I'm assuming for them to get the go, somebody probably told them the threat has been neutralized, right? You're not going to move unless you kind of know what's going on. They pick him up, and you can hear the president. It's interesting, just from a human behavior perspective, you hear the president saying, "Where are my shoes? Where are my shoes?" A lot of people are commenting on, is that an odd thing to say? You also have to think about the stress and impact of what just happened.
Shocked, yeah.
And he's just, it's a kind of like a very human, simple thing to think of.
You can hear on the radio too that they say the shooter is down.
Is that what you're going to be thinking about when somebody busts 7 shots at you? Where are my shoes? Look, Trump is out of his goddamn mind. He got up after they secured him you hope that they secured him. Secret Service is around him, and this dude is standing there holding his hand up. They're trying to direct him to do something else. This man is asking, where are my shoes? This guy is out of his mind. And I'm not saying that to help Republicans. I believe Democrats should let Trump just let him be the person running against Biden. Just let it be. That's what any person that believes in democracy would do, right? You would just let it be. I think Trump will lose. So why would I want to take him out? You see, let it be. Because if you take him out, it's only going to embolden his audience. You see what I mean? It's only going to embolden that. So here's the thing. I say let Trump run. I'm happy Trump is alive. Please, Trump, don't do any more outdoor rallies where your life can be threatened. Just conservative, just keep closed and keep running your mouth. Keep running your mouth. That's what I want you to do as a Democrat who's voting for Biden. I want you to stay exactly the same. Be you. Don't change one bit, Trump. Be you. Because I want Biden to be the next president or Kamala Harris. I'm cool with that. Or anybody that's strong enough on the Democratic platform. I'm quite fine with that. And I believe they will do it as long as you are the candidate for president. We don't want no changes right now.
Oh, so clearly they felt that the threat was neutralized and they could safely move. But as an agent, I mean, the president now with this iconic act of defiance, holding up his fist and literally sticking his neck out into the open again. But if you're an agent right then and there, are you just wishing you could just whisk him off to the car?
Well, I saw that and I saw that. I can understand why he's doing it from that perspective. But from the other perspective, I'm thinking, we know one shooter is down.
Right.
You don't know if there are other
Right.
shooters. And then the other thing is when you move him to the vehicles, you want to make sure, does he have any other shots within him and check him?
Evie, thank you so
Thanks,
much.
Evie.
Hey, thanks for watching. Don't miss the Today Show every
I mean, hey, So we had a new listener here today. We had Tris, and I'm sure we got a few other listeners. Look, if you haven't heard me say this before, Trump, the people in MAGA, the people in the Heritage Foundation, the top ones, right? The main supporters, including Trump himself, these people talk a big game about the founding fathers. The majority of these people, 80% of them thus far, their families were not even around during the War of Independence. They came hundreds of years later. A lot of us, our families were here before the country was even founded. That's the history of America. You do know people came here before there was a United States of America, even before the War of Independence, people had already been living in America. You do know that, right? Well, so that means the history is even before 1776. For a lot of us, that's not Trump. Forget that. He was nowhere around. He came decades after the Civil War. You see, what's this dude, this other MAGA, one of the other MAGA? I mean, we went over many of them, but what's the one that just went to jail recently with the long hair who's always talking with this other conspiracy dude? His family came just before the Civil War. They were nowhere before in the founding of the country. They were nowhere here with the founding of the country like people like me and my family. Nowhere near. They did not die to found the country. His family have zero to do with it, just like Trump. Zero. But he did at least come a little bit before the Civil War. There was 2 of them out of 8 top ones. They came a little bit before the Civil War. But I didn't find one that was here in the beginning. I think possibly maybe Tucker Carlson, possibly, but no. The family that he claimed came in the 19th century. So what the hell is he talking about? The founding fathers? These people got mind games going on folks. MAGA, they basically people who benefited from others who died for this country in real terms, like straight up. And Donald Trump benefited from others who died for the United States to be a country, for others who died during the Civil War so everyone could be free. You see what I'm saying? Not everyone wasn't still free because, I mean, damn, some people couldn't even vote still. You see what I'm saying? These people have done a mind game on the United States of America. It's been allowed to go through the media. But guess what? There's going to be some real reaction to it from people that their families really did die for the founding of the country. Like mine. Some families that really were here dying in the Civil War, like mine. You see, I'm a real American. Trump's a wannabe come later one. Definitely. You see what I mean? I mean, shouldn't that be the standard since they want to talk about building walls, since they want to talk about 1776? Shouldn't there be something in it where they give you a lineage test, DNA, and say, hey, was your family even around in 1776? Since you talking about 1776, since you think 1776 is so important, you know, they're hypocrites. They're hypocrites. You know, the one with the loudest mouth in the room is the weakest one, and that's MAGA. They're weak. The Heritage Foundation, they're weak. The only thing they got is their money. The rest of the American part of it, they don't have at all. They just did a mind game on people. So I'll be back with y'all a little bit later today in a few hours. I appreciate everybody that came out. No matter what your views are, thanks for coming out and checking it out. It's been an interesting conversation. A few new people, I appreciate it so much. But you know something, Jamie, thank you so much. And Trish, thank you for your views too. I'll be right back at everybody. Peace.